Frank Brown from Littau Harvester in Staten, and trying to be high-tech. My slide, we couldn't load it, so I'm reverting back to a 2-year-old stick I had in the truck. Anyway, but we'll talk about some of the new stuff. As Don mentioned, with the Tier 4 compliancy coming into place, one of the things when you are replacing engines in the old machines, for a Kubota example, if we're not replacing it with a Tier 4 compliant engine, if we're replacing a Tier 3 or Tier 2, Tier 1, any of that stuff, Kubota is asking us to destroy the old engine. So what we have to do is torch a hole in the side of the block next to this serial number and then send a photograph for their EPA records. So sometimes that's unfortunate if you have a minor down problem in mid-season. That engine will not be available for rebuild. Now Cummins, they obviously don't trust us as much because they want the engine delivered to them. So then we have additional freight to go pick up the engine from wherever it dies and deliver it to the localist Cummins dealer. So anyway, so they destroy them themselves. So whenever we're replacing old stuff with old stuff, they're requiring us to submit the engine. So anybody that can pre-plan and you know, do any maintenance and rebuilds. And one thing I have to, talking to Mr. Seeger, he's got a machine you don't use very often, one of the Volkswagen diesels. Those timing belts are the worst thing you can do is let them sit, I think. So whenever we're doing pre-season maintenance, every 5 years we need to replace those timing belts because those zero clearance valve engines like the Volkswagens will destroy themselves if they break a timing belt. So keep that in mind. You know, we do have a Tier 4 replacement for let's say the Volkswagen 1.6s, which is like the 2003, so 2003 Kubota, which is a Tier 4 compliant engine, in which case then you can keep your old engines. But if we're replacing 2203 Kubotas, we're losing about 8 horsepower. And that's going to matter when you're going up a hill or, you know, heavy loads. So anyway, we're working on some new engine fixes that hopefully take us up in the power ranges. I think all of us are experimenting with engines this year, trying to figure out, once again, like Don said, the cooling packages. These engines run probably almost twice as much of exhaust gas temperature as the old Tier 1 engines. And with that comes heating issues. And so you have to go to these huge cooler packages, which are also expensive. So we're improving fan, you know, designs and all the things to do to try to keep these things cool. So as we get into the repowers, keep in mind it's not quite as easy. You know, for the restocks, repowers, if we're doing Tier 3, we can't keep an engine on the shelf either for that. So if we're doing a Tier 3 repower, we have to submit that you know, photograph and then do the paperwork, go pick up the engine and get it out to you and deliver it. Now we're working with our suppliers to have engines definitely available, but you never know how many you're going to go through in a specific season. So there are some limitations. So anyway, keep that in mind. Great time to do maintenance to your machine is right now, not July 4th weekend, as they typically like to break. So, of course on this here, figure out this laser here. This over-the-road model is our basic Blackberry machine. We're making some changes in it. You know, as we went up through the tiers in this, you know, last couple of years we've had to upgrade the cooling package in it too. So you'll see, you know, intercooler, charged air cooler systems that are all integrated in that. One of the things that happens when you move more air is you get more, it's amazing because we sealed this up really good, but just in the tire area where we suck the air up to blow through the radiator and discharge it out, we're sucking more air, we get more debris. Now last year was very hot, we had a lot of cottonwood lint. So that cottonwood lint just makes a blanket on the radiator. You know, the one thing that's nice is they got the digital displays up here on the thing, and you got little codes that show up. And you got a red light that shows up, tells you a code. We're probably going to work on that a little bit more as we go through the bigger display and have more options. to tell you exactly what the warning lights are for. Right now they're throwing codes and we gotta kind of look through a chart and see what they are. The most common code that a guy will see is a water sensor. The sensors in the radiator are very, very sensitive. And if they get like a tiniest low on water, they'll throw a code. And it keeps running, but it needs to be addressed because you virtually cannot run them with low water. If the radiators aren't like 100% saturated, so you got your water pot up above, you gotta, when you're doing your dailies, just make sure that thing's full. As we get into the side row machines, which is our more inexpensive machine, typically used for red raspberries and blackberries and such. And the main reason is it's only got a 40-inch tunnel versus a 66-inch tunnel in the ORXL. And then our next model down from the ORXL is the over-the-row model. And the over-the-row model is actually the one shown here, has a cross belt, upper cut belt, leads to the inspection belt. So our XL model does not have those extra 2 drops. This here is a back view of a side row machine, and you got your deck area here. This particular one has a Lexan side skirts on it. These lift out gates are smooth because some of the bigger raspberry plants and blackberry plants are now virtually touching this deck when we go on there. So then there's a 2-deck system. We can pull out this deck for those big bushes and actually reduce that down. It's kind of a double-edged sword. When you need capacity most, you have to remove some of your storage capacity. So we always try to run the biggest decks as we can. This machine here is a new machine for the apple industry, so orchard processing, whatever kind of tree fruit that you may be picking. And then you can have people on the ground hand picking here, they put the product here. You have people up on these decks picking, they put the product here. You have people here picking and put the product there. Then it's got a bin filler and puts it into the bins, which are picked up here and distributed out the back after they're done. Now we're in cahoots with Owl Fruit and Van Dorn, and so that's a Van Dorn bin filler on the back. It's a 0-drop apron, so the product comes down, it's caught in between 2 aprons, and then they're pulled out from underneath of it. Works very good. You see foam padding, and there's like some directional graphs and stuff that's on vibratory tables to help move the fruit in the direction towards the bins. And then of course the bins are dropped down with a real soft let out so they don't bang the apples up at all. And you see there's no railing on the machine, but at the point when you're in the trees, there's really nowhere to fall off either. And then the guys are just tethered on there with the little cord so they can't fall in or out of the row. And you kind of see up there with pulling the apples off. When we're doing this program here, we're saving about $150 per box on fruit cost of sorting in the plant, which in the apple game, that's about all the margin there is. So it's been pretty effective. So this is the XL machine. As I mentioned before, in this area here, the cups actually come and drop right over the main belt. So this deck is 15 foot by 15 foot, so there's about 210 square foot of storage room and sorting room up there. Makes it nice. The fruit comes up into off the catchers into the cups, and right before it comes up, there's a vacuum air system where it blows right over the tops of the cups. And as they're transitioning to go up the back, as the fruit kind of rolls in there, we can suck all the leaf matter out. So we get virtually no leaves up on top. Then when we get up to the top, each side has a set independent cleaning system. So all the fruit on the right side is clean. You got about 3.5 feet of sorting space here. You can easily get 2 sorters in there. Plus with the atmosphere, the driver can help sort a little bit. Then there's it's not plugged in right there, but there's a sorter seat goes right here, and then sorting can happen here. So fruit comes on, sorted. This fruit's added into that fruit, and then comes over. And one thing that's really nice about these cleaners is the fruit's dumping on the 20-inch wide belt. It lays out real nice and even. And so it's already, it don't get the, let's say the concentration like our upper cups on our overthrow, puts the fruit deeper in a pile so the cleaner's struggling to get it all cleaned and leveled. So these clean very well. And then with this positive air system, the fruit actually floats up in these chambers. You see the berries, they're actually lifting up. They level themselves out just by negative air pressure. They try to even itself out as much as it can. So with these short exhaust ducts, we're able to actually sort fruit. So one of the things everybody's after is the fresh grade of fruit. Well, fresh grade is very selective. So if you're going to go for that fresh, you're going to want the fewest drops possible, and you're going to want to run the fans as high as needed. Overripe fruit and underripe fruit is underweight. So we can get rid of all the fruit that's blue but not ripe if you want to. Nobody ever does. But when you're actually trying to go fresh, you're going to have to give up something to get there. You're either going to give up the machine and go pay some hand labor at 70 cents a pound, or you're going to turn up these fans and put extra people on to sort it. Now we've so much as seen people putting the private label little boxes right into the machine, filling them, going super slow, doing all the stuff, and taking them down to the local fruit stands and in small stores. So that's, you know, one opportunity, but it's a limited opportunity because there's so much fresh fruit coming at so much every time. So the guys that are doing that are typically the guys that have really nice corner market locations where they have a high volume of customers, and then also the guys that are next to bigger populations. So that's been a big plus on these machines. Is we've probably seen more fresh fruit coming off of these by far than we have the over-the-road models. New for this year is this whole back rail folds down over the back. So we don't have swing gates, we don't have lift-out gates, and we have absolutely full access to all 4 pallets across the back. So I think that's going to be a huge advantage this year for us, saving some time. Now the deck here, with the deck basically 7,500 pound capacity. We can lift and lower 6,000 feet. If you're going to run at 7,500, you have to pull it with your forklift up top. You can see, there's a few green berries in there. But this is not untypical to see that quality of fruit if you're running your fans up high. If you're not running the fans, you can definitely experience, probably a 10 or 15% green mixed in there, green and red berries with that. So, to get fruit that quality, you're probably blowing out a few of the green berries. This particular one was over at Bremen Farms, and they were picking with the machine, and on that particular pick, that was going fresh. So, side rows, this is a good view of what I was talking about with the bush size of these raspberries. It's just getting huge up there. There's some new varieties of raspberries, and they grow big and grow long, so they have a longer fruit bearing season too. Back to the blueberries in particular, mulch spreading down on the bases. So this little machine here, we can deliver discharge to the left or to the right, and we can put mulch on and sawdust, and we can hit around the plant good enough where you only have to hit it from one side. Now the grape industry, when they do grapes, we have a dual discharge, and they usually put really high quality expensive mulch on, and they don't want very much, so then we can do both sides at once, but typically only in grapes. And then processing plants. Any guys that have ever delivered down to Willamette Fruit probably saw like a whole row of these things out there. These guys out there, they're picking the crates, they're pouring the crates in here. It's kind of a catch there. We can just flip the crate, and the fruit goes up here slowly, it's clean, and then goes on the inspection belt into the plant. Front-mounted sprayers, especially putting sprays on right at the base of the plant. These have a clear plastic shield around them. We call them spray shields, so that you can just spray your herbicides right along there and get rid of the weeds just real next to the plant. Trying to, keep everything as concentrated as we can. Now this particular one has a lift mechanism on it here with a single cylinder, and there's a single scissor type system here, so we can extend in and out over 2 feet for row variations. Of course, now with everybody with GPS, that won't be important, but for everybody that wasn't GPS, it's really nice. The basic features on the machine that we're concentrating on right now is shaker technologies. As everybody gets into different varieties and for different purposes, we've played with different shaker technologies. So, we try to cover that, keep it specific for our customers that are trying to get certain applications. So you see us and we'll try to get you the best fit for what you're trying to do. We've got 2 new shaker systems out. Experiments are working very well. Next year, there's one of our newest systems will be available in these. But for 2016, we basically are still with the horizontal. We have the newest horizontal system will be coming out for 2016 this year. We've been playing with it for about 4 years. It's been very promising for selectivity. We think ultimately with selectivity comes higher yield. The less stuff that you knock off and blow out with the fan, the higher your production yields will be. So that's kind of our hot ticket for the coming year. And we're working on it in engineering right now to try to streamline the physical size of the power head. Our early experiments were pretty deep. And of course, you lose a couple of rows of rods up here in some of these big blueberry bushes. It's almost unforgivable. So we're working on getting our rods put up to the top of the tunnel and get the capabilities for the big bushes, because those are the ones that obviously need bigger shakers too. One thing we found with our big shakers is that in the shaker system itself, when we have a large mass shaking, it's I use the analogy. It's kind of like you're in the geo going stoplight to stoplight, and you're in the farm truck loaded with fruit going stoplight to stoplight. The geo, you can just bang off the gears, cruise at 20, and hit the brakes. The farm truck, you're going to be on the gas the whole way to the midpoint when you start riding the brakes real slow so you don't disturb everything. So the large shaker mass is also nice because it isn't dampened by big bushes or small bushes. You'd think a big shaker's bad in bushes, but we're trying to control with braking systems the inertia of the heads so that they're traveling virtually as it takes no energy as you're traveling down the road to turn these big heads, because they already, as they're shaking, they're already moving at about the same speed that you are, and you can adjust the brakes to acquire that. And then when you come from small bush areas, like let's say you had some bushes this size in a wet spot, and you had some big bushes, you see a more even stroke. So you don't overpick the little plant and underpick the big plant. So that's been one of our advantages we've seen with the new power heads. Any questions? All right.